Hello. Welcome to Conrad with a K. My name is Conrad. It's spelled with a K. It's episode 3. You should probably figure that out by now. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you're watching, listening on. Let's get into it. Well, we've discussed why I think we need a revolution. Now it's time to discuss how we got here, because we need to discuss those things before we can fix the current problems. Now, I've also had people reach out to me and tell me that what I'm doing is impossible and I'm wasting my time and I should just learn to manipulate the system that we're in. I disagree. Full-heartedly disagree. I refuse to believe that, mainly because every system of government that we've ever had throughout civilization was new at some point and was created by us. Therefore, intrinsically, fundamentally, we can create another new one. And what's more is the elites already have a new one that they're bringing in. Their 2030 agenda, they've made very clear. They have digital IDs. They're rolling it out in front of us, telling us this is what's happening. It's not going to end up being good for us. And they have to tear down this current system and make it impossible to function before they can bring in a new one. Otherwise, why would we? So, no, I don't believe that it's impossible. Do I believe that sitting on my fucking couch, making some videos and ranting about things that I think are going to change anything and actually start a revolution? No, I don't. There's like maybe a 0.5% chance that actually works. All right. I'm not crazy or retarded. I'm just dumb. I'm dumb enough to think that since we've created all the other ones and we've actually come together and revolted many times throughout society, when the system collapses and is no longer working for the people, that, hey, maybe we could do it again. I'm just that kind of dumb, you know? There's also a quote. There's a quote that I've lived my life by since I heard it. It was mid-20s, probably 25, 26. And it was Dr. Maya Angelou. And she said, when people tell you who they are, believe them. They know themselves better than you do. And I find that to be a very true quote to live by. And I apply that to both sides of the situation that I'm on right now. At WEF says that they have a 2030 global agenda where we will own nothing and like it, where they say that digital currencies will be the way that they control us. They tell us that in their manifesto that they put out every year, whatever you want to call it. Go back, read for the last decade. Go to the WEF website. Read all of their statements of what they fucking want to impose on us. They do it. They tell us what they're going to do, and then they do it. So we should believe them when they say that they're going to bring in this new agenda. Vice versa, on the other side, when I tell people my issues with the government and the country and things I want to fix, and they agree and go, yeah, no, it's fucked, man. It's bad. It's just not bad enough to actually do anything about yet. It's not bad enough to fight. I believe them. I believe that's how they feel. It infuriates me. But at the same time, I can't change how they feel. I'm not that charismatic. I'm not the guy. I wish I could be that guy to fucking lead speeches and do that, but I'm not. I know that. But I want to at least, my goal is, and this might sound bad just because it's one of the things I'm fully against, but Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto in 1848. He died in 1883 before he ever got to see his theories or philosophies get implemented in real world aspects. But then in 1917, that became a thing. And now Marxist-Leninism is the fundamentals of what our school system's based on over here. It's a slow roll of what's been happening in Canada. So it worked. It eventually got enough steam and enough people behind it that it worked. So that's my goal with this, is that I'll probably be dead before people finally realize it's bad enough to revolt. Probably won't be in my generation. But if that time does come, when it is bad enough and someone is questioning the system, they can at least maybe find these videos and see that somebody else was questioning this back in the day. Somebody else did want to have a new system and gave some guidelines of what a new system could look like. And maybe they use those ideas. Maybe it's still practical in their civilization. Maybe none of them are practical in their civilization. And it just shows that someone was at least trying to think about it and let them know that if you try, maybe you can do it. I won't be able to. I understand that Canada has to get a lot worse before people fight. All right. I will concede that. I know this isn't going to be some fucking worldwide or Canada-wide podcast that blows up and starts a revolution. That's not realistic. But if I could just maybe show when the future generations have finally had enough that someone was trying, someone had ideas, and maybe some of those ideas are still good and applicable in their civilization, that's cool. I don't have to see any of this actually come to fruition because I know it won't in my life. I'll be long dead before any of this actually happens. But that was just a thing because, yeah, I don't find it impossible. I refuse wholeheartedly to believe it's impossible. I'm just dumb enough to believe that we can do the same thing that people much dumber than us did back in the day, instead of just sitting here and accepting the form that they're going to push on us. Because, like, I can promise you, it's not going to be good. How did we get so willing to accept this, though? How did we lose our will to fight? That, I believe, comes back. There is a video. I don't know what broadcasting network it was on, but it was filmed in 1984. And there was a KGB, like an ex-KGB officer who escaped Russia, came to Canada. Now, he was talking about the States at the time, describing what was happening in the States through Marxism-Leninism that had expanded over. But what he describes lines up perfectly with the timeline of him giving that interview and then Canada implementing it, or even less nefarious of our government doing it, but the global elites, the WEF, because Keir Starmer in the UK, Mark Carney, Justin Trudeau, all these people are farmed and taught everything from being a child from the WEF, Klaus Schwab, and the young economic leaders. So these people are groomed as children to believe in these communist Marxist ideas, and then they get put into these government positions to implement their new world order. It's a very long game. These people don't fuck around, all right? And everyone wants to go, well, I don't think they're that nefarious. I don't think it's that complicated. That's right, because you can't think like that. You don't think like them. And if you can't think like them, you're never going to understand what they're doing. You couldn't fathom being that evil. So how could anyone else be that evil? I wish that's how society worked. I really do, but it's not. There's a lot of evil fucking people out there. I don't know how much more evidence we need of that in society at this particular moment to prove that these elites and world leaders are evil and do not have the best interests for us at heart. But yet we still are just willing to accept their system. Make it make sense, people. How do all of a sudden, all this evidence comes out of how much they hate us, how much evil they do. But all of a sudden now they've changed. It's good. They actually care about us all of a sudden. That's retarded. That's bad thinking. That's not thinking, actually. That's not even bad thinking. That's just not thinking at all. But what this man was saying during the interview is that the States at that time, and then what I think started in the 80s, late, like my lifetime fully, is ideological subversion, or active measures, as they will put it in the Western societies. Ideological subversion is the act of ultimately changing perception of reality as a whole, to the point where no matter how much evidence and facts they show you, they cannot convince you of what you believe. I think they've done a pretty good job of that. We have, I don't even know worldwide, a good chunk of the world now. I mean, I don't, Western world and like Europe, I can't even tell you what a woman is. No matter what evidence you want to show them, scientific, biological, whatever, they just won't believe. Nope, men can be women, women can be men, men can have babies. So it's working. And it has worked because they want to get to where no sensible conclusions in the interest of defending themselves, family, or country become a thing. Look at in the States with ICE, look at Canada right now with the school shooting. The CBC referring him as a gun person instead of a gunman because he was trans and all the shit. They've done it. This is the ideological subversion that they are talking about. It's a 4-step program for brainwashing a society. Clear as day, he says it. This is written in their books and how they teach brainwashing that started in the KGB for communism, right? Stage 1 is demoralization. That takes 15 to 20 years. 15 to 20, that's a long game. That's a commitment. So when you think, oh, these people can't be nefarious, yeah, they fucking can, because they have long games. They don't think in 6 months or a year. They think in 6 months, a year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 year. They probably even have 100-year plans, especially some of these real wealthy families. They probably have fucking scrolls of shit written down for what their family is supposed to accomplish throughout hundreds and hundreds of years that they follow. So that step 1, demoralization, and that's the education of the enemy. So they educate you in communism. And that's exactly what happened. Marxist communism became the basis of our education system. That's just factual. You can look it up. So the Marxist-Leninists is what our education system based on. Stage 2, after their 15 to 20 years, the demoralization is a huge factor. Like, they have to take the will of the people out of the country. I believe that actively started at 9/11 for my generation, because my parents still believe that voting mattered, still believe that voting actually helped. 9/11 happened. My generation's seen all of the corruption from that. and the bin Laden getting flown out of the country the day of the attacks when every other plane was grounded, to the weapons of mass destruction that ended up being fake, to he, bin Laden he denying it, first of all, and after it happened, denying it for months. It was like, no, man, I didn't do that shit. Trust me, if I did it, I would have told you I fucking did that. It wasn't me. And then finally, after a couple months, he's like, all right, tell me that wasn't some payoff from the CIA. And then you tell me that you couldn't find a man 60 years old living on dialysis in caves. That was the whole thing. Hey, he's on dialysis in caves. We're going to find him. We're going to find him. And then magically, you end up finding him in this mansion in a Balabad or wherever the fuck it was, whatever city it was. And you guys kill him in the night, no videos, no pictures of him, and then you bury him at sea. We're supposed to believe that. Sure, I don't believe they ever killed Osama. I believe he was just the scapegoat. They gave him, paid off, let him go live the rest of his life. And then when he was dead from a natural cause, they could just go on the news and claim, hey, we killed him. He's buried at sea. Fucking no one's ever going to see that guy again. That's what I think happened on that one. So 9/11 happens. We see all the corruption, and we know that voting doesn't matter. We know both sides are corrupt. So millennials, we don't vote. Most of us don't. Most of us opt out of the system. We said, we're going to give a fuck you to the system and just not participate in it. That doesn't help us. That helps them, because now, instead of convincing all of the public, they've demoralized a solid chunk of the public to not vote at all. And now all they have to do is pander to the 10% on each side of the aisle that are fucking crazy and idiots, and then the seniors who still think voting matters. So then we have 30% of the country at best making decisions for the whole country. And even at that, you can only get 50% of the people. So you're actually having like 15 to 17% of the country decide what's going on for the whole country, because you think opting out of voting is giving a middle finger to them. All it does is give them easier control. This is why we, in the new system, we need a democracy, we need a voting system, but not everyone gets a say, because there's a lot of dumb people that fuck things up for the rest of us. So that is a big process of demoralization. And if you think I'm wrong and you think that the sides are different, then come out, vote in the next election, vote conservative, vote heavy conservative. And if you think the system is broken and you want to prove it with me, come on out, vote conservative, vote heavy conservative. Let's give them a huge majority. Let's give them a massive majority this time and watch them do nothing. Watch them make zero changes. Other than maybe they'll build a pipeline, or they'll say they will, and they'll start building it, and then they'll lose another election eventually, and then that pipeline will stop, and they'll just have their friends getting rich off of our tax dollars pumping out this pipeline that never actually gets built. Let's do it. Let's vote heavy for the conservatives this time around when the next election is, so I can prove to you that you are right. Both sides are working behind the scenes against us, so voting does not matter who's in the party. But at the same time, proving me right, that we need a new system because both sides do not work for us. They work together against us. If you really, apathy doesn't work. Apathy just lets the idiots decide for the rest of us. And now look at Canada. Now look what we're dealing with. So that's my plea to millennials, and to try to get them out and vote, and any sane Gen Zers or whatever. Fucking, they've been heavy indoctrinated into this. So some of them are like super alt-right, and they're like, fuck that other people. And then some of them are like, men can be fucking cats if they want. I don't know. It's a crazy time to be alive, that's for sure. Stage 2 of the ideological subversion is destabilization. This takes 2 to 5 years, plus or minus 2 years, and this one focuses on economy, defense, and foreign relations. What does that sound like? Does that sound like Canada right now? Pretty sure that locks Canada in perfectly right now. Our economy is absolute dog water. It shouldn't be. We have all the resources. We have people who want to work, but our government is actively going against our best interests so they can bring in their new world order, because they need to destroy our current system to bring theirs in. Friends go, oh, it's not that complicated. Yeah. It's not a complicated system at all, actually. It's pretty fucking simple to understand. If you think that's complicated, dear God, is the rest of life going to be tough for you? Let me tell you that. And then our foreign relations, our neighbors, who are one of the biggest superpowers, if not the superpower of the world, who we used to have a good relationship with, who people want to blame everything on Donald Trump. We blame it on our own government, people. All right? Our own government should be making deals, should be working together, should never have let this divide get this big. Yeah, sure, we should be trading all around the world, but you shouldn't be pissing off the biggest fucking superpower who's right next to you, who prints money. How stupid are you? Like this. And then defense, the defense of our country, they just, I don't know if anyone else saw this, but Stellantis got a $5 billion contract for defense in the Arctic. But I do know that the guy he gave the contract to has been investigated for fraud and corruption before. So why are we giving this guy another $5 billion? If you get convicted of fraud and corruption one time, you shouldn't get any more government contracts. That should disqualify you for life on a personal level, not your company level, because then you could just go start a new company and make a new contract with the government. That should disqualify from you personally from ever being able to have your name associated with any company or any government contract ever again. That's pretty basic common sense. Like, these aren't fucking mind-blowing ideas. This is very basic. I'm stupid. I will tell you guys that many times. I'm not a brilliant person. I don't think that these are all going to be good ideas. And I don't think this is actually going to start a revolution. I think it's going to start a question where someone else smarter and more charismatic can build off of these ideas and actually do something positive in the world for this, whether it's 50 years from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now. That's my hope. That's my goal. Crisis is stage 3. Crisis is a final basic stage of this, and it's only lasting 6 to 8 weeks. And I believe that the crisis that they will bring in is going to be a power grid crisis based off of AI somewhere over the next 3 years. Because the final part of the stage 4, stage 4, the final part of this is normalization. So that's just now you're living in the normalization. This is the new reality. Welcome to the new world order. And if they keep saying 2030 is their new world order, then that's the normalization phase. Therefore, there has to be a big enough crisis for a world global demand of government to come in before 2030. So somewhere in the next 3 years, in my prediction, there will be a global crisis in the power grid based off of AI, and they will have a solution to all of our worries to bring in for us. And they will have made the world so bad and our countries so bad and devalued everything so much that we will beg them for the system. That is their main goal. That is what they hope to achieve. Make things so bad, break it so much from the inside, and that when you talk about a new option, people beg you for it. You don't even have to force them. There was a show, Criminal Minds, one of my favorite shows. There's an episode called Entropy. It has Aubrey Plaza in it as the killer. And Spencer Reed is the character name, drawing a blank on his actual name right now. But they're having a debate about why she's so good at her job. And he says, well, you kill without remorse and compunction. And she said, and if I do it right, they pull the trigger themselves. That is what the government is trying to do. They manipulate the system and break it well enough. They won't even have to force it on us. We will do it ourselves. That is what they are banking on. That is what they hope. That is what I fear. And that is what I wish I was more charismatic enough to get people to fucking care about this. But they won't until things get really bad. I believe you when you tell me that. All I can do is put out these videos and show someone is thinking about a new system. And they're probably, half of them will be horrible ideas. A couple of them will be good. Nothing will ever get implemented. Maybe in the future it'll inspire somebody to just try. Because you know what? It is impossible if no one ever fucking tries. And if you're at home and you think, yeah, this is just the way the system is, there's nothing we can do about it, you're not the person who's going to help. So just keep fucking playing in the system, man. It's not rigged for us. It's definitely not being beneficial, but by all means, keep playing in it, man. I don't know what to tell you. I don't fit in a society that's willing to sacrifice all of these freedoms. I just don't fit. I don't relate to it. So that's how we got to this point. I feel they use the brainwashing techniques on a global level while grooming their future elites to put into these positions because everything's a fucking joke and they control the whole system. And if you can't see that they are nefarious and evil and not looking out for our best interests with everything that's being exposed around the world with world leaders and all these billionaire people, then I don't know what to tell you. We're just kind of fucked, I guess. So all the best, you know? And after this, now we get into the fun stuff, into the creating of a new system, what I think should change, what I think shouldn't change, and go from there. Money is still the core base of what we should, it's not like we're scrapping the whole system and starting over from absolute scratch. Like, we can just advance or innovate from the system that we have. We don't have to. Like, people think it's so scary, and it is scary to have a whole new system, but it's scarier to have theirs just pushed on us versus us coming up with our own. And in the 48 laws of power, I know it says lie to the people, tell them it's going to be easy, tell them it's going to be better. and get them on board like that. And then after you're in power, let them know, hey, it's shit's going to be a little tougher than I might have let on, lied to them, manipulate them, all these. I don't want to do that. I also don't have any money or any power in this world to do that. So it's pretty redundant to lie to you and say, this is going to be so easy. I'm a fucking carpenter. What the fuck do I know about it being easy? I have no idea. I just have ideas because I see how things are being run, and it seems like they're doing a pretty fucking shitty job. Like the way our economy is run, essentially, to break this down, is like if you had a family and your family was living, your paychecks are gone to debt right away. Every time you get a paycheck, that is just gone to the debt. So every year you just keep upping your credit card limit, and then you just live on the credit card limit. And after a couple of years of this, things are getting pretty out of control. So you go get a line of credit, and then your family's like, oh, thank God, maybe we get a lower interest rate, we'll get some reprieve here. And then you go, no. I actually gave that line of credit to the family down the street. And then your family's like, wait, what? Why would you do that? And they're like, well, they needed it more. They were really struggling. And you say, okay, so you just gave them the whole thing? You could have just broke them off like a little, I guess, if you really wanted to, but like, we're struggling here. Like, we need food. We need to buy our kids clothing. We need to take care of the home. We have our own issues. Why would you give it all to them? And he goes, they're just struggling. Don't fucking question me. So then you and the family go for a walk down the street, and that neighbor who got the 100K from your family is putting in a pool. That's essentially how Canada runs its economy right now. So I think there's a lot of changes that are going to have to be made coming up. I think this is actively going against our best wishes. And I know that I'm just not the guy to be the motivational leader of this thing, but hey, I hope to God to inspire somebody someday to be that guy, because sooner the better. The sooner we revolt, we could be peaceful. Like, if you get 50,000 people in the country together, that's not enough. There's 41 million people in this country. 50,000's fuck all. That's not enough people to make a movement. Now you get 20 million or 30 million of the 40 together to go, hey, we're not fucking doing this anymore. We're sick of being poor because of your fucking moral and altruistic decisions that don't actually track with reality. We're not playing that game anymore. That's what we would have. And then if we have 20 to 30 million, I guarantee you the military isn't going to listen to the government. They're going to stand with the people. The RCMP at that point wouldn't be standing with the government. They're going to stand with the people, because we only have like 3,000 RCMP officers in this country. So what the fuck is that going to do against 20 to 30 million of us? Of course, they're just going to join us. But again, things are going to have to get a lot worse before we get there. I know that. I know this isn't going to do shit. So all I can do is get the ideas out, the changes, and hope that someone agrees and someone decides to be that person one day. Thank you for the time. Enjoy the rest of your day. That was the show. I am Conrad, your host. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you again for listening, and make sure to share, like, subscribe, all the things, man. Let's start a revolution.